What changed for ADHD diagnosis? DSM-IV versus DSM-5. Imagine trying to spot a pattern in a puzzle that keeps changing shape. That's kind of what it's been like for doctors diagnosing attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Over the years, the way we understand and diagnose ADHD has evolved a lot. Today, we're going to look at what exactly changed from the old diagnostic manual, called the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 4th edition, to the newer 5th edition. These updates help us better recognize how ADHD shows up across different ages and in different ways. One of the biggest changes was the age when symptoms need to show up. In the past, with DSM-IV, symptoms had to be present before age 7. That meant if someone was diagnosed later, their early signs might have been missed. The DSM-5 raised that age to before age 12. This change recognizes that sometimes symptoms aren't noticed until later in childhood or are harder to spot early on. Another important update was how many symptoms are needed for an adult to get diagnosed. The DSM-IV required at least 6 symptoms of inattention or hyperactivity impulsivity for everyone, no matter their age. The DSM-5 lowered that number to 5 for people aged 17 and older. This adjustment makes sense because adults often have fewer symptoms but still find them disruptive in daily life. The old DSM divided ADHD into 3 subtypes: predominantly inattentive, predominantly hyperactive impulsive, and combined. The new manual replaced these with what are called presentation specifiers. These are more flexible and reflected the current symptoms someone shows. Since symptoms can change over time, this approach helps doctors give a more accurate picture of how ADHD looks in each person. Another big shift was how diagnoses are made alongside other conditions. The DSM-IV didn't allow a person to be diagnosed with both ADHD and autism spectrum disorder at the same time. But the DSM-5 now permits both diagnoses to be made together. This change recognizes that many people can have both conditions, which can influence how they experience symptoms. ADHD was also moved into a different chapter called Neurodevelopmental disorders. This new placement aligns it with other conditions that start early in life and involve brain development. It helps emphasize that ADHD is rooted in how the brain develops and functions. Finally, the DSM-5 added clearer examples of how symptoms might look in adults. For example, instead of saying runs about or climbs excessively, it might say feelings of restlessness. It also stresses that symptoms must cause problems in more than one area of life, like at work and at home, and that reports from different people, like parents or teachers, are important. All these updates mean that more people, especially older children and adults, can be diagnosed accurately. Recognizing that inattentive symptoms are just as valid as hyperactive ones helps identify those who might have been overlooked before. The shift to flexible presentations allows for a more personalized diagnosis, especially for those with the combined presentation, where both inattentive and hyperactive impulsive symptoms are present. In practical terms, these changes help ensure that individuals get the right support at the right time. They also acknowledge that ADHD can look different from person to person and across different ages. Overall, the move from DSM-IV to DSM-5 reflects a broader, more inclusive view of ADHD, making it easier for people to find help and understand their experiences better.